Kalen's knees buckled. The plasma rifle slipped from his grip and hit the ground with a dull thud. His vision swam as pain radiated through every muscle in his body. He tried to stand, but his legs would not obey. Blood ran down his left arm where a blast had torn through his jacket. His right shoulder hung at an odd angle, dislocated from the impact of a mercenary's club. He collapsed forward onto his hands. Each breath felt like broken glass in his lungs. The battle had gone on too long. Even humans had their limits. The marketplace around him was destroyed. Smoke rose from burning stalls. Bodies of the attacking mercenaries lay scattered across the plaza. Kalen had counted 17 when he stopped counting. He had fought for nearly an hour to protect the small group of Thoraxian cubs trapped behind an overturned cargo container. The cubs were not his problem. He had only been passing through this remote trading station when the raid began. But when he saw them caught in the crossfire, separated from their families during the evacuation chaos, something inside him refused to keep walking. That was the human way. When someone needed help, you helped. Now, as darkness crept into the edges of his sight, Kalen wondered if his choice had only delayed their fate. For mercenaries still stood. They moved toward him with weapons raised, clearly surprised the human had lasted this long. Humans were known across the galaxy as stubborn fighters, but flesh and bone could only endure so much. Finally down, one of the mercenaries growled through his translator. He was a Krell, his body covered in thick armor plates, for muscular arms hanging at his sides. Thought he would never quit. Make sure he stays down, another commanded. Then grab those cubs. They will sell well on the outer stations. Kalen tried to push himself up. His arms trembled and gave out. He fell face first into the dust. His consciousness flickered like a candle in the wind. He had failed. The cubs would be taken. All his fighting meant nothing. Behind the cargo container, 5 small shapes huddled together. The cubs ranged from barely 4 cycles old to nearly 8. Thoraxians looked like the great cats of Earth, with sleek fur that shifted colors based on emotion and large expressive eyes. They were a peaceful species known for art and philosophy, not war. The eldest was named Vash. At 8 cycles, he stood as tall as a human child of 10 years. His fur, normally a calm blue-silver, had turned dark gray with fear. He had watched the human fight for them, had seen Kalen take wound after wound while keeping the attackers away from their hiding place. The human did not know them, did not even speak their language well. Yet he had fought until his body broke that Vash's younger siblings pressed against him, making frightened sounds. His sister Nira, only 4 cycles old, dug her small claws into his arm. "Vash, what happens now?" she whispered. The mercenaries reached Kalen's fallen form. One kicked his rifle further away. Another raised his weapon to fire a finishing shot. Something inside Vash snapped. His entire life, teachers had told him that Thoraxians were peaceful. That violence belonged to lesser species. That wisdom and calm were true strength. But watching these mercenaries prepare to kill the being who sacrificed everything for them, those lessons felt empty. The human had taught him something different. That peace must sometimes be defended. That standing between danger and the innocent was the highest form of wisdom. That Vash's fur turned black, a rare color among his kind. The color of fury. That he stepped out from behind the container. "Vash, do not!" Nira cried out, but he was already moving. The mercenaries turned, amused to see a cub approaching. The Krell laughed, a harsh sound. "Look here. The little one wants to play hero." Vash said nothing. Young Thoraxians learn body control from their first years. They were taught to move with perfect grace and precision. Most species did not realize this training included knowledge of weak points, vulnerable areas, and how to turn an opponent's power against them. It was presented as dance, as art. But art could become a weapon. Vash moved faster than the mercenaries anticipated. He stayed low and darted between the Krell's legs, slashing upward with sharp claws at the joint where armor plates met. The Krell bellowed and stumbled backward. The second mercenary, a Vex covered in cybernetic implants, swung his rifle toward the cub. Vash was already gone. He jumped onto fallen debris, using it to launch himself at the Vex's head. His claws found the optical sensors. The mercenary screamed and fired blindly, bullets going wide. The third mercenary raised his weapon more carefully, trying to track the fast-moving target. But the other 4 cubs emerged from hiding. They might not have Vash's bravery, but they would not abandon him. They threw debris, grabbed at legs, created confusion. Vash pressed forward. He moved like water flowing downhill, like wind through trees, exactly as his movement instructors taught. Every action had meaning. Every strike found weakness. He used the mercenaries' strength and size against them, avoiding their heavy blows and responding with surgical precision. The Krell grabbed for him, but Vash twisted away and struck the back of the mercenary's knee. The Krell crashed down. The blind Vex, panicking now, fired again and hit his own teammate. The fourth mercenary saw what was happening and ran. Vash let him run. He was no killer. He was Thoraxian. But he was also someone who learned from a human what protection truly meant. As the last mercenary disappeared into the ruined marketplace, Vash rushed to Kalen's side. The human barely breathed. Blood covered his clothes and pooled on the ground. Vash pressed his small paws against the worst wounds, trying to stop the bleeding like he had seen in emergency broadcasts. "Stay with us," Vash said, his voice cracking. "Please do not die. You saved us. Now we save you." Station security arrived then, drawn by the sounds of fighting. Medical teams rushed in. They lifted Kalen onto a stretcher and began emergency procedures. A security officer knelt beside Vash, staring at the wounded mercenaries with shock. "A cub did this?" the officer asked in disbelief. Vash looked up, his fur slowly fading back to blue-silver. "The human showed me how," he said quietly. "He taught me that protecting others matters more than anything." For days later, Kalen opened his eyes in the station's medical center. His body felt distant and strange, wrapped in healing bandages and hooked to various machines. The doctors had saved his life. Though recovery would take weeks, as his vision cleared, he saw 5 small figures asleep in chairs around his bed. Vash sat closest, his head resting near Kalen's hand. The moment Kalen stirred, Vash's eyes opened. "You woke up," the cub said softly. Kalen managed a weak smile. "You are all safe. Because you fought for us," Vash replied. "And then we fought for you when you could not fight anymore." Kalen reached out slowly and touched the top of Vash's head. "You did what I could not finish. You showed us the way," Vash said. His eyes were bright and serious. "Humans fight until they cannot stand. But that day, I learned something new. Those who are protected must sometimes rise up and defend in return. That is what family means." Kalen felt warmth spread through his chest despite the pain. Not every fight ended cleanly. Not every sacrifice was wasted. Sometimes the greatest thing a fighter could do was inspire courage in someone else. Sometimes falling was not defeat. It was passing strength to those who would carry it forward when you could not.